Do you love tropical fish as much as I do? Well, so this video is going to be for you. It's going to be all my tropical tanks, the update, especially all the fry that's going on here right now. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Stubbs Aquatics. Like I said in the intro, we'll be dealing with nothing but tropical fish. Sorry, no shabunkins this video. I don't think. Anyways, let's deal with the tank in behind me. It's one of my kribensis tanks. Now that I've got the bug when it comes to dwarf cichlids. Uh, as you may know, I've had fry in here. They're grown up enough that I can move them. I'm going to move them in the next day or two. Currently beside me, I know I said I wouldn't say it. There are shabunkins. They're going to a new store tomorrow, and the fry that are in this tank that have done incredible are going to get moved on. Unfortunately, the father of these fish did die, just leaving the mother to look after them. She's done an admirable job, but now they're big enough to look after themselves. The big thing is now is there's a new pair in town. They're always here, but now they've become the dominant pair. They built themselves a nest. As of late, I haven't seen the female in 2 or 3 days. When I say I haven't seen her, great. The I hate to say it, the old fry in here. Um, well, I think they need to come out for a couple of reasons. Uh, the new hatch fry will make these parents turn into a little bit more vicious. They keep the other adult cichlids away and don't really bother too much with the fry or the juveniles. But just in case, I do want to move them on. Plus, I want to sell the vast majority of them. I can't believe how many have actually survived. Look at the colors on these already. I'm really impressed. I was told before that the fry will take on a lot of the characteristics of the tank once they're born there, and they really have. They're so much more developed color-wise than their parents, and I'm truly happy with that. Uh, wow, like I am like over the moon happy with that. I mean, these colors are just popping, and there's a little bit of size variance in them, but for the most part, I'm hoping that I can catch a lot of them out and look over to this tank, which is already set up. It's well cycled. I just have to move the fish out. It's well rocked, well planted. I've got lots of cryptocorin in there. I even put some val in there recently. Um, I've got some sword plants, some bacopa, and well, I hope to add eventually more plants, but right now I'm going to keep to what I have. They're all growing, very well, and I think this is going to be, an excellent tank for kribensis. But speaking of kribensis, I want to take you over to my other kribensis tank, and because we have new fry in there. In the tank behind me, which is a 90-gallon, uh, I've got three kribensis, one male, two female, one paired off, and this is their third spawn. The first two got eaten, I'm assuming by barbs, which I removed. I since have really heavily planted this tank with several species of plants, including val, cryptocorin, swords, and a few others, not to mention Anubis. I'm really hoping that'll give some good hiding spots. Plus, I have it well rocked, and there's lots of driftwood in it. I don't know if the parents are as good as the parents in the other tank. As you can see, the fry that were just born here are really light colored, but have markings. But I've been noticing the fry number has been decreasing. I don't know who's eating them. The only fish that are in here are my Doras, which I really don't think are going to. The only ones that I think maybe are my Florida flagfish, but they don't seem to be getting anywhere close to the fry themselves. I have noticed, however, when I feed the adult fish, I'll often see both the parents come to the front of the tank, leaving the fry behind. I probably should have taken the fry out earlier and put them in a brood box, which I went out and bought. I think it's too late now, unfortunately. I'm kind of heartbroken. I think there's about 10 or 12 left. It wasn't a huge spawn, so, and right now I went to go try to get them, but the parents, are, of course, then are guarding them so tight that I'm not going to be able to get to them. So I'm hoping that I have a few survive because the adults here are just beautiful. I mean, the markings, you can't beat it. They're just, well, they're next level. To me, they are almost as nice as a pistogrammus. And speaking of pistogrammus, uh, I'm hoping with my new uh, Shabumpkin dealer who is buying them is able to get in some pistogrammus. I know I wouldn't mention the Shabumpkins, but I can't help myself, obviously. So I apologize. But let's have a look around in the tank. And you're going to see some beautiful fish. Lots of activity. The numbers are low, and as you can see, I've got lots of terrestrial plants above it as well. I know, there's no problem with nitrogen levels. In fact, I have to actually add some. I do have a bit of an issue right now with algae, and I don't think that's because of me adding the nitrogen. I think it's because of too much light right now. It's a new light that's in there. I have to get it cycled for me just right in the plants. Um, and that's what my Florida flagfish are supposed to be doing is taking all the algae off the plants. They're doing a good job, but unfortunately I don't want to add any more. And if they should breed or the Corys should breed, all the better. What do you think? Well, let's move on to the next. Before we get too much further on the 125 gallon behind me, let me apologize about the glare. Simply because of the way it's positioned in the fish room and everything's got lights, the glare on this one is terrible. I have to hit it just right. And well, during filming, obviously I didn't hit it just right. So most of the views will be from the sides. In this tank, I have Aurelius barbs, mascara barbs, and my Denison barbs. Moving my Denison barbs into this tank was one of my best ideas that I've had. I removed them from this tank, and well, even though it's only about 35 gallons more, they are really growing. They're getting along with, it's my all Indian tank. They should have been in there from get go. And speaking of that, I was at an aquarium warehouse and I'm kicking myself because there were clown barbs there and they're in with this group and they would have looked excellent with them, but I didn't have myself a quarantine tank and there was no way I was going to risk these fish. That's really too bad. I have to contemplate whether I move those fry and go back and get those fish and use that tank as a quarantine. It's a real dilemma I'm having right now, but because they would look excellent in there, if I had another 6 to 8 of those in there, and they look similar to a really spark, and they're going to go up to about 6 inches. So I don't know. I think I can handle it in there, even though they're all going to be big fish. But it's going to be my big fish tank of 125 gallons, and there's a ton of plants above, and a lot of bacopa floating at the top. plus all the anubias down below. I think we're going to be fine that way. Um, and again, no fry in this tank. Uh, I thought I was going to get lucky with the anubias. The males were getting kind of like pimply marks around the mouths and face, uh, which are similar to shabunkins. And when they get into breeding, they're fine. Uh, just no activity. Whether I want to mess around with the temperature, I did have a spawning mop in there, but no such luck. Well, let's move to my other barb tank in this room. This is one of my other favorite tanks for obvious reasons. Melon barbs at that place that I saw the other barbs, and you know what this tank is lacking. It's a male melon barb. Got only female in there, which limits the squabbling. But melon barbs, the males are quite spectacular, and it'd be nice to have some in there. I've got gold barbs in here, and of course my famous Odessa barbs. They are, always hungry, always curious, and they are beautiful. One of my favorite fish of all time, and a really underrated fish, being that they don't need a heater. The requirements are minimal. They love it outdoors in the summer. If I lived down south, I think I'd have a pond full of barbs. But I don't live down south. I live in central Ontario, Canada, where we're going to be snowed in for a long time yet. That snow is still coming down. It's so deep out there, I don't even want to think about it. My plan is hopefully this year I may take some Odessas out again and breed them. Uh, we'll see how much room I have left after I decide to breed a few other species outside. But let's go on to my last tropical tank, and I think you all know it as barbcity. Aquarium in the house. In fact, it's over 30 years old. Uh, we built this in the wall back when I was doing the basement all those many years ago. The 55-gallon tank. It's the original. No problems with the seals on it. It's heavier than a tank. But I've got Odessas in there. I've got some really dark, beautiful ruby barbs. Got tigers, got checkers, and I've even got cherry barbs in there. And if we look really closer, I have one kribensis in there. It's a female. She was getting picked on. And why would I put a fish in that gets picked on with barbs? Because barbs have really got a bad rap. As long as you keep at least 7, 8 of the same species, they don't get nippy. And the female kribensis is realizing that now. I love how dark it can be in here. Unfortunately, it needs to be really dark in the room for this tank to look good. As I stated, the darker the better in here to get the best view of them. Have tons of bacopa floating there, and that does a great job keeping it clean. And I also have 2 hang on the back filters. This tank does have a heater in it, simply because it's in the basement, and it's basically behind a crawl space, so it gets pretty cold here, especially in the winter. There are a couple bristlenose in there. They're quite large, and I see them periodically, well, including now. They generally hide underneath here. As you see, I've got lots of logs in here. There's always lots of activity, and this is probably why I love it so much. There's always something going on in this aquarium, and all the fish look great and get along so very well. I'm always impressed with the coloration of the black rubies in here, though. I've never seen rubies this dark and for that often. Like they almost look like they're in permanent spawn mode, and I can tell you they're not. The tigers, well, they're not overly aggressive in this tank. The Odessas, well, they still pop. And I don't have a lot of plants other than the Anubias and the Bacopa, but I'm okay with that. Well, if you've liked this video, please hit that thumbs up, think about subscribing, and hit that notification bell. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.